Everything seems like a blur, like it all gets mushed together, the years and all the things we went through. I really had no other experiences with drug addiction before my son. I always would knock at his door and say goodnight, I love you, and he'd say love you too. And for some reason that night I went to bed and didn't knock on the door. I noticed my phone, my husband had called me 22 times, and for some reason the phone never rang and I didn't hear it. And then he texted me and said, call me right away, there's been an overdose. And then I drove home, and I remember trying to call my husband like 5 or 6 times to find out what happened. Then I arrived home and, I saw all the police cars and investigating, and asked if I wanted to go up into the room, but I just couldn't do that. He was a week shy of 31. He was 30. I had his service on his 31st birthday. My son Randy was just a very sweet, quiet little boy, very shy. Yeah, we bought an old farmhouse with a lot of land, so it was really a little boy's paradise. And he had a dirt bike, and he loved riding the dirt bike in the field and mowing the grass for us with the big tractor. And later, as he got older, he got into paintball, and he'd have all his friends come, and he would drive them in the tractor, pulling a trailer full of boys, all with their camouflage outfits, and they'd all go in the woods and do their paintball. He was playing football with his friends after school, and he was about 16. He hurt his knee. He got a bad injury, and his friend, I guess, tackled him from behind and tore the ACL. He needed surgery. They had put him on oxycodone. Then when he came home, they started to wean him off, but he kept saying he still needed the medication, and they obviously kept prescribing it to him. And I feel like that was his turnaround. We didn't realize he was actually getting addicted to the painkillers. When he couldn't get the oxycodone anymore, he started buying like Percocets. And his dream actually was he wanted to be a pilot. He wanted to join the Air Force. When that happened to his knee, he realized that he wouldn't be able to get into the Air Force. So I think it played a role in, he got kind of depressed, and I think that's why the opioids kind of helped him to self-medicate and kind of numb him a little bit. He was very embarrassed by his addiction. He didn't want to talk about it with anyone, that's why he really never sought counsel. He felt that he could beat it on his own, that he didn't need help. And I think it was more because he was embarrassed to admit it, because I really feel if he didn't have that, maybe he would have gotten the proper help. And then anxiety set in. He became very anxious. I found him unconscious. He had taken too much Xanax, and he was passed out. And I kind of panicked and said, this is it, we got to get him somewhere to get help, because he had refused it. So I went to the courts and I sectioned him, which meant he didn't really have a choice. They put him in a program for 3 months. After that, it was weeks. It was probably about 3 weeks. It was a tough realization that we had lost him. And then I had to go tell my mom and my family. And 8 months prior to that, my sister and her husband had been killed in a motorcycle accident. And I was the one who had to go and tell my mom and my sister's children. So I think I was just numb. I remember saying to my mother, like, how do I do this? Teach me, how do I go on after losing a child, That I'm not sure even how to grieve at this point. I really do feel numb. When you experience multiple deaths like that in a row, you're not sure who to grieve more, or first or last, or, I feel like I hadn't gotten over, the loss of my sister, and then once my son died, it trumped everything, and I couldn't even think about my sister anymore because I was grieving so hard for my son. And I'm not really even sure when it's gonna hit me. You know, I just feel like I just keep going, doing the next thing, one foot in front of the other. You know, now that I look back and I think, you know, should I have seen the signs? I think that's the hardest thing, is trying not to live feeling that there was something I could have done better. It still haunts me, like, why didn't I knock on the door that night, you know? Because maybe if he didn't respond, I would have been able to save him. But I think that's just a mother's wish, or we kind of think we can save our children, but then we find out that they really need to save themselves, that we're not God.